Oh, there's a goal!
This video is proudly sponsored by Raycon. How's this for a proposal? You give me your undivided attention, while the everyday earbuds flood your ears with pristine sound, a comfortable feel, and a sleek design. With 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life, this isn't a mere rental for a playoff push. These are long-time performers. With these optimized gel tips, they offer the perfect fit for your ears or your franchise. They are the cornerstone that will not budge. A starting rotation workhorse. Raycon's 5 tools are well known: comfort, durability, reliability, accessibility, and affordability. Raycons start at roughly half the price of the major brands available at the deadline. Remember how well the Braves did on the cheap last year? That's the everyday earbuds. It's even got earbud tap features to change your music on the go and 3 customizable sound profiles for the audiophile in you. So what's stopping you from making this deal? Going to buyraycon.com/utree to save 15% off your order is even more of a fleece. It's the deal of the deadline. The everyday earbuds from Raycon are an all-star talent at waiver wire prices. Speaking of that, the main question this deadline, the talking point on everyone's mind was simple. What were the Nationals going to do with Juan Soto? Washington's gone into a tailspin the last few seasons, and Soto openly rejected a mega deal from them several weeks ago. Look, he's a borderline generational talent in his early 20s on a Hall of Fame trajectory. $440 million ain't gonna be enough. Read the signs. The learners are trying to sell the team. They're embracing a deep rebuild and don't want to pay Soto what he wants. Nobody in the DMV wanted to admit it, but it became reality soon enough. Juan Soto is gone. He was traded along with Josh Bell for a premier package of prospects in Luke Voigt. But even then, it still doesn't feel like it's close to enough. Once again, guys like Juan Soto don't come around often. The Nats were never going to get equal value to what he offers on the field. Even worse, it's the official end of an era, one that was supposed to be much longer than this. The sad part is, while this is pure pain, it could be even more painful. Imagine if Dave Roberts wasn't a complete fucking moron. There wouldn't even be a championship in your arsenal. However, that incredible magic and those chances are now in the past. That opportunity now goes to the place Soto's going. San Diego smells fear. They smell it in their executive branch. They know the Padres haven't come close to realizing their potential. They lack consistent power in their lineup. Their outfield is a disaster scene of underperforming parts. San Diego has buyer's remorse about Eric Hosmer. AJ Preller knows if they fail again, his ass is grass. Therefore, he must make his past offseason championships pale in comparison. He needs to concoct his magnum opus. He needs Juan Soto. When players like him hit the market, you must pounce. You have to secure them no matter the cost. What are the use of prospects when they aren't going to be ready now? They gave up a shit ton, but the results are clear. The Padres got the best player in the deal. It doesn't stop there. In that trade, they added Josh Bell at first base to replace the failing Hosmer. For their super utility spot, the Reds are shopping Brandon Drury. San Diego must secure him. With these 3 men, they have not only shored up significant weaknesses, they have added much-needed home run power to the lineup. It would be perfect, if not for Eric Hosmer. Turns out the Padres didn't bother to ask him if he wanted to be traded to Washington. The Nats just happened to be on his no-trade list. They tried to bribe him with candy, but he would refuse to be traded there. We all prepared to laugh, but unfortunately, chaos would not be served. Luke Voigt was shipped over in the deal instead. An absolute blue balling. Hosmer aside, pitching needs help as well. Taylor Rogers blew chunks in a weekend series against the Tigers. He's been hot garbage in July. They can't have that if they want to go far. The Padres need more star power. They need Josh Hader, a proven commodity of incredible stuff. The cost is irrelevant. When you go shopping, you need to pay for the best. If you don't, you end up paying more for it later. Such as with Joe Musgrove. With how well he's been pitching, they need to extend him handsomely. If they don't do it now, they'll be paying dearly later. Praise from the media is as beautiful like it was before, but that's not the point. As their prospect pool is all but emptied, the primary goal for the Padres is clear as crystal. World Series or bust. Their chance is now. They must beat LA. Anything less than that will be a catastrophic failure. No excuses this year, boys. None. You may be wondering about the fate of Eric Hosmer, the long-scorned anchor contract of the Padres. Now that the cat's out of the bag, he can't go back to San Diego. No, he'll have to be traded away with prospects and the Padres swallowing the rest of his contract. Boston will take him for free. They love saving a few bucks. You can tell with how they've been playing in July. There's one thing going through my mind, and it's the belief that the Red Sox forgot how to play baseball. They go from 20-6 in the month of June to 8-19 in July. Team pitching went to absolute shit. Fielding, I don't know what the hell that is. It's so bad they're getting annihilated by Toronto 28-5 at home. This roller coaster is too intense for the rest of us. Boston must respond. And what do? Next to nothing. They'll bring in Hosmer, Reese McGuire, and Tommy Pham in a pretend attempt at competence. Word of advice, keep Pham away from your fantasy football leagues. We know from experience. Back on topic, I say pretend competence because they were rumored in selling. JD Martinez is staying put, but Christian Vasquez is off to Houston. He was traded in the middle of his warm-ups. In Houston. At least he didn't have to go far for his new team. Unlike Boston, the Yankees know the time is right to splurge. This might be their best chance in a while at a World Series. Have you seen how Aaron Judge has been hitting since the All-Star break? It's the stuff legends are made of. However, there are problems in the Bronx. They've been mediocre since the break. They must suffer through Joey Gallo. They lost a series to the Mets. Completely unacceptable. The solution to this mere averageness must be swift and decisive. Joey Gallo has been a catastrophe that needs to be replaced. Plus, we need a way to one-up Boston. I've got it, Andrew Benintendi, a perfect solution for the corner outfield. Aaron Hicks, another absolute mess in center. Harrison Bader may be struggling this season, but his pedigree is pure. Once he cuts those locks of hair, he will also be perfect. The pitching needs more bolstering. Oakland's having a fire sale. They owe them for the lemon that was Sonny Gray. Frankie Montas and Lou Trevino? They won't be gray. They'll be golden. Scott Efros has been excellent for the Cubs this year. If he turns into another Clay Holmes, a steal and a half. If only they could have gotten Pablo Lopez, but alas, they must settle with this. With their amplified outfield and rotation, the time to make another World Series is now. There is one more question to answer in the land of pinstripes. That of Joey Gallo. He has been an abomination unworthy of a clean-shaven face and modestly cut hair. The fans have been gaslighting him for months and he's broken beyond belief. Good. A man who doesn't perform as a Yankee isn't worthy of life. Get him the fuck out of here quickly. Dodgers, you want some damaged goods? I'm not even trying to ask, just take this detriment to society and quickly. I don't care if Gallo's probably going to turn back into what he was in LA. He needs to be gone! He'll be nice with the Chris Martin the Dodgers ended up getting as well. I told you Gallo was going to be redundant. Tampa Bay wishes they had that kind of problem on their team. Their issues are easy to decipher. They're injured to hell and back. To add to the massive amount of players on the IL, more bodies to be burned at the trop. Mike Zunino and Kevin Kiermaier have officially been lost for the season. Some wonder if Kiermaier's injury is career-ending. Shane Baz is out for the year as well. Harold Ramirez is in the infirmary now. And to add to their catching woes, Francisco Mejia is out with injury as well. The Rays simply need warm bodies to keep alive in their division. David Peralta and Jose Siri aren't the sexiest buys at this point, but they have an active pulse. Anything to regain some semblance of health. It's code red over there. The Jays at least are moving out of this danger. Seems like firing Montoya was the right thing to do. Ever since he was removed from the equation, the Jays managed to get the jolt needed to return to winning form. A 13-16 win streak tends to help with that as well. Toronto knows a new chance for playoff glory is upon them. They must avenge past failures. Anthony Bass and Zach Pop from Miami will be needed to flesh out a stronger bullpen, but the starting rotation needs help. To replace Hyunjin Ryu, the Jays need to bring an old prospect home. Thor, will you return where you belong? And Philly poached him. Well, that sucks, but he was more of a luxury item anyway. The real prize is infield depth like Whit Merrifield? The same Whit Merrifield that can't play in Canada because he isn't vaxxed? That guy? Ross Atkins is funnier than most comedians these days. Like Washington, Baltimore is dealing with their own pain of a fan favorite leaving. Trey Mancini is a folk hero at Camden Yards. He's bonded with the Orioles in many ways. He came through the team's farm system. He found his wife in Baltimore. He beat the fuck out of cancer here. He'd become the de facto face of the franchise. And a bright spot in a stretch of darkness. However, he's going to be a free agent after this season. Baltimore did what they had to do. It was tough, and Mancini will sorely be missed, but keeping him around wouldn't change their short-term fortunes. It is a damn good season, but they need to sell high on assets right now. Who knows if Jorge Lopez is going to have this kind of value again? Went from garbage starter to lights-out closer. They have to trade him. Their time is not yet here. However, it might be close. They might be adding sooner than you think, especially if the season is any indication. Maybe Brett Phillips can win a championship here. Ah yes, Houston. The folks hungry for another shot to end the curse of the succubus. If you were wondering where Trey Mancini went off to, it's here. As a rival worthy of the Yankees, the Astros are still humming along with excellent pitching and strong bats. Mancini will be excellent support for them, but they need more production at catcher. Martin Maldonado is struggling big time, and Jason Castro is going to be out long term. They need a battery mate that can hit. Boston lacks a cohesive vision because they think they're Tampa Bay. The perfect time to poach Christian Vasquez from them and fill a much-needed hole. For the bullpen, why not add a recent champion in Will Smith? He isn't what he was last season, but he'll be fine. With these moves, they hope it can finally get them back to where they feel they belong. As champions. New York obviously disagrees with that statement. The Mariners aren't as torrid as they were in late June, but they're still giving chase to the Astros in the AL West. When you have a talent like Julio Rodriguez blossoming into something incredibly special, you don't want to waste it like every other talent this team has been blessed with. They have several top rotation arms in their staff, but why not get more of them? Have you seen how much of a mess Cincinnati is? They have a really nice Luis Castillo that could go well with their rotation. So why not jump over every other suitor and trade for him? Paid a premium in prospects to get him, but if they make the playoffs, who's going to want to face Castillo, Ray, and Gilbert in a series? No one, that's who. But first, they'll actually have to make the dance. And for the Mariners, that's unfortunately easier said than done. I like their odds, though. Minnesota is in a similar situation. They're leading a pathetic AL Central, but it's evaporating. The likes of the White Sox and Guardians are slowly creeping up on them. I wouldn't look in the mirror, boys. Objects are closer than they appear. With this in mind, the T's need to fix glaring issues in the pitching staff. They desire reliable relievers not named Yohan Duran. They could use reinforcement for their starting rotation. With 3 deadline ads, they hope they can retain distance from their foes. Jorge Lopez from Baltimore, Tyler Mahle from Cincinnati, and Michael Fulmer from Detroit. Not the most well-known names in the baseball sphere, but all 3 offer quality and a team in dire need of more of it. Good luck on that front, Minnesota. You'll need what you can to do what you want. I would talk about the rest of the AL Central, but did any of them really do anything? Cleveland desperately needed catching help. There were some good pieces available for the taking in Contreras and Murphy, but like all things Guardian, they paid homage to the past by choking at the deadline. They didn't like the prices, so Cleveland did nothing. A fitting course of action that mirrors the White Sox. They acquired Jake Diekman, and nothing else. They desperately needed starting pitching, but have no farm system. Too bad, but the real needed change wasn't made. At least the Sox can say they're at least relevant. What the hell is Detroit doing? Seriously, what are they doing? The moves they made were nothing burgers. And their lineup is still as awful as ever. I get Tarek Skubal was injured, but you'd have been fleeced in that deal too! On second thought, why the hell is Alavila still here? Did they forget that dude was still on the payroll like it's Office Space? Kansas City at least did things, even if they were 3 years too late in the case of Whit Merrifield. The man's allegedly a traitor to the team, so they'll send him to his version of hell, Canada. Perhaps should have saved such a shitty laugh track for the Angels. Oh lord, things have gone to shitting quick. And I'm not talking about selling off all of those assets at the deadline. I'm not even talking about how hard they've fallen since May. Think bigger. With how badly Artie Moreno has fucked up their payroll, there's a good chance Shohei Ohtani will be gone sooner rather than later. LA's not going to be able to pay him what he wants without triggering the luxury tax. And Artie's not even going to broach that subject. There were rumors of him being traded off at this deadline because of it. Fortunately, he's still in Anaheim, but all it does is piss me off further. Once again, the Angels should be much better than what they are. However, this is far from the main concern. Not just with the glass menagerie of Anthony Rendon, but one forming from Mike Trout as well. Turns out he'll now have to deal with a permanent back issue for the rest of his career. one that may impact its production in the future. Baseball apparently now has their answer to Bobby Orr. Gods, please don't let this happen to him. Oakland and Texas are still here? Are they really, though? Oakland is too busy trying to sell off everything down to the fucking studs, and Texas is trying to make a pitch for Luis Castillo. They were apparently close to getting him too. Who cares if they're 10 games under 500? They must consume more product. It's a better situation than A's fans are in. At least the Rangers are trying. The Braves as well are trying to defend a World Series title. They're on an impressive run, but they need just that little bit more to overtake the Mets. What Atlanta needs isn't an overhaul like last season, but simple tweaks. The bullpen needs work. There are struggling parts, and it needs more depth to survive October ball. Out goes Will Smith and Jesse Chavez. In comes Raisel Iglesias. The starting rotation had Jake Odorizzi for insurance. To aid the bench, add Robbie Grossman and Ere Adrianza. Adrianza was here in 2021, so it helps on the chemistry front. Once again, not much, but they didn't really need to do a ton. Just tweak and adapt. The real story is in locking up an infield cornerstone in Austin Riley. They don't want what happened to Freeman to happen to him. And with a 10-year extension, they'll be damn sure it won't. Riley and Olsen are tied at the hip. It's a good combo to have in that situation. Queens is merely hoping that the hounds of the NL East stay away from them. However, something strange happened this deadline. No matter who they were rumored to be in on, nothing would come out of it. Anything done was in terms of depth and insurance against injuries. However, it doesn't mean that they didn't bring in fan favorites. Darren Ruff brought in as a lefty masher off the bench from San Francisco. Tyler Naquin added as more quality for their outfield rotation. Michael Gibbons to solidify a bullpen in ways he's done for many teams. My personal goat of baseball, Dan Vogelbach. An absolute fucking legend. A man who will hit majestic dongs simply by looking at his brick house frame. Watch him rumble past third base and be in awe. You will love him simply for his brilliant grace. At least in my mind. Mets fans may bitch about not doing all that much, but your big splashes were in the offseason. Don't forget all about it when Jacob deGrom comes back from injury. For whatever reason, Philadelphia keeps winning. Despite managerial turmoil, injuries to core players, a flawed roster design, or whatever the gods have in their bag of tricks, they keep winning. Nick Castellanos is earning the hatred of a relentless Philly media, and his hitting coach thinks he's off. Deadweight litters the roster in spots, but regardless, they keep winning. And you know how you keep up appearances? By adding more talent. Brandon Marsh still has upside at this level. And while you may lose a rising prospect to catcher, you need something to upgrade at center field. David Robertson is back to his outstanding form as a Cub. And while his first foray into Philly was an injury-riddled mess, this time will be different. You must always trust Dombrowski in a trade storm like this. When a guy like Noah Syndergaard is available, even if he isn't what he was, you have to get him to one-up the Mets. It's even better when you can shed the other flop that is Mickey Moniak in return. Despite their moves, the real additions were probably subtractions. You keep forgetting that Odubel Herrera is still on the Phillies' main roster. Philly would like to forget that Uris Familia was still on the roster as well. One of the greatest wins of the deadline, both were DFA. Even better than that, most hated shortstop Didi Gregorius was given his walking papers. The most glorious victory for Philadelphia since the Super Bowl. Now they were hated, you may as well play in the damn parade. The Brewers are a strange team. I get why they made the moves they made from a financial standpoint. But when you're supposed to be a playoff contender, trading Josh Hader seems to be an odd choice to make. The return had to be incredible for them to part with such a piece. And he had been getting blown up in recent appearances, but he still has pedigree. To be fair, they did get a ton for him. Taylor Rogers to become the new Devin Williams of the bullpen, to Nelson Lamet to hopefully not be garbage, and several prospects. I'm guessing them having Williams made them comfortable with this move. Not to mention they probably weren't extending Hader long term. He'll do better with an all-in team in San Diego. No offense, Milwaukee, your team doesn't wow me. Despite their recent loss of fortune, St. Louis needs to make sure their farewell tours have good endings. The starting rotation has been a mess for the Cardinals this year. Injuries, failed experiments, underperformance, you name it. It's why the Redbirds need quality arms. In typical Mozeliak fashion, they try to fix one mistake by creating a hole in a different spot. The renaissance of Jose Quintana will be a nice pickup. And Jordan Montgomery will be excellent as a complement in the rotation. But acquiring Montgomery cost them Harrison Bader. And I know that Bader has been underperforming, but I'm guessing they must believe Dylan Carlson can handle center field full time. It's a bold risk. Kind of feel it's their typical overconfidence in the farm, but it did get them a World Series in 2011. Has it really been that long? St. Louis must still think they're there. The Cubs, however, are letting go of the past. 2016 is so recent, yet feels so far away from Wrigley Field. Despite Chicago going to complete shit, there are great players to ship off at the deadline. Wilson Contreras is a free agent to be, and Ian Happ's value might never be any higher than this. Both saw the writing on the wall. Just before the trade deadline, they hugged each other for dear life. They know that baseball is business, and this may very well be the end of them here. And their fears will be confirmed. Eventually. Cubs demanded too much for both of them and they weren't trading. This is pretty awkward, I'm not gonna lie. Wilson Contreras is the Trevor Story of 2022. At least Happ is still under control, but you have to do more than trade bullpen pieces to build up for the future. Rough look. The rest of the NL West didn't do much of anything either. Certainly not Arizona, who simply traded David Peralta 2 years too late and Luke Weaver at his absolute lowest value. Certainly not Colorado, who sat around getting drunk and forgot to do anything again while their GM completely fucks up basic news items. And certainly not San Francisco, who still thinks they can gun for a playoff spot despite another massive skid. I get injuries are dampering ambitions, but there's a lot more at play here. Joey Bart hasn't come close to replacing Buster Posey. Many vet hitters are suffering decline, yet all they did was trade Darren Ruff for J.D. Davis and prospects. There were a lot of rumors of them trading Carlos Rodon, but they have ambitions, foolish or not. Probably foolish, but I've been wrong before. There are 3 more teams to go over in the NL, but they didn't do much either. Miami only made 1 trade, and it was for a top 100 prospect in Jordan Groshans, but he's been struggling mightily in the minors this season. Whoop-de-doo. The Cincinnati Reds may as well be called the Cincinnati Shortstops. It's pretty much all they acquired for their pieces at the deadline. They got some really good ones, but it doesn't matter since they'll all be traded once they hit their 2nd year of arbitration. Pittsburgh, you disgust me. I get trading away Jose Quintana, but Dan Vogelbach? That man was a god amongst men and you traded him! I hate you. I fucking hate you. I never want to see you again! Sadly, one last thing to go over before we call it a day. Baseball's lost a legend. Vin Scully has turned in his broadcast headset for a halo. Normally, I go into some sappy diatribe about his impact for the game, but not here. I think the best way to pay tribute to him is to simply let him practice his craft.
Sachs waiting on deck, but the game right now is at the plate. High fly ball into right field. She is gone! In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened. And now the only question was, could he make it around the base paths unassisted? You know, I said it once before, a few days ago, that Kirk Gibson was not the most valuable player, that the most valuable player for the Dodgers was Tinkerbell. But tonight, I think Tinkerbell backed off for Kirk Gibson.